Very, very briefly, are you going to pardon Edward Snowden?
Well, I can't pardon somebody who hasn't been, I think, gone before a court and presented themselves. And so that's not something that I would comment on at this point. I've said in the past that I think that Mr. Snowden raised some legitimate concerns. How he did it, I think, was something that did not follow the procedures and practices of our intelligence community. And if everybody took the approach that I make my own decisions about these issues, then it would be very hard to have an organized government or any kind of national security system. So I think that at the point at which Mr. Snowden wants to present himself before the legal authorities and to make his arguments or have his lawyers make his arguments, then I think those issues come into play. Until that time, what I've tried to suggest both to the American people but also to the world is that we do have to balance this issue of privacy and security. And those who pretend that there's no balance that has to be struck and think that we can take an 100% absolutist approach to protecting privacy, I think don't recognize that governments are going to be under an enormous burden to prevent the kinds of terrorist acts that can not only harm individuals, but also can distort our society and our politics in very dangerous ways. On the other hand, those who think that security is the only thing and don't care about privacy also have it wrong. So we have to find ways in which collectively we agree there's some things that government needs to do to help protect us, that in this age of non-state actors who can amass great power, I want my government, and I think the German people should want their government, to be able to find out if a terrorist organization has access to a weapon of mass destruction that might go off in the middle of Berlin. That may mean that as long as they do it carefully and narrowly, that they're going to have to find ways to identify an email address or a cell phone of a network. On the other hand, I think it's important to make sure that governments have some checks on what they do, that people can oversee what's being done so the government doesn't abuse it. And obviously Germany has experience with that, and with respect to the practices of the Stasi in the United States, we have experiences that as well. Dr. King was wiretapped by J. Edgar Hoover and the FBI. And so we know that government can abuse these systems, but we shouldn't assume that government is always trying to do the wrong thing. My experience is that our intelligence officials, our national security officials, contrary to how they're portrayed sometimes in the popular media, that they try to do the right thing, that they are responsible, that they believe in the rule of law, that they do believe in privacy, but even with good intentions, sometimes they can make mistakes. Sometimes they can be overzealous. And that's why I said before, I in many ways welcome the debate and the criticism, because I think it helps us make better decisions. And technology is moving so quickly that if we don't ask ourselves questions now, we could find ourselves in a situation in which government just has too much insight into people's lives. Our lives are now in a telephone. All our data, all our finances, all our personal information. And so it's proper that we have some constraints on that. But it's not going to be 100%. If it is 100%, then we're not going to be able to protect ourselves and our societies from some people whose values are very different than ours and who are trying to hurt us.